The regular session of the Louisiana legislature is rolling along. All indications are there will be yet another special session after this one, and that could see the legislature meeting until July.
What will go on far longer, though, is the budget crisis the state is facing and cuts to services that will affect both farmers and consumers alike. Joining us now for this week's Bottom Line is Neil Melancon. And Neil, many people don't realize that the cost-cutting measures that we're taking now could cut into our profit potential later on.
It's very true, and the thing people don't realize is that for every dollar we put into agriculture, the state makes back $1.25. So when we start looking at ways to save, cutting into agriculture now, as Kristen said, is a sure way to continue our budget woes in the future. We've talked a great deal about what this will be like at the LSU Ag Center, where cutting the budget on research means less production and thus less tax revenue for the state, as well as the losses in jobs and rural infrastructure. When we look at the Department of Ag and Forestry, it's not the research so much as it is the vital services we've come to rely on. Over the past 10 years, the budget has been repeatedly cut, and as a result, the department has half the employees that it once did. This has led to some efficiency, but when it comes to things like food inspections and making sure our food that we eat is safe, as well as fighting wildfires, do we really want less manpower? The department also looks into things like cattle and timber theft, crimes that not only rob the farmers who own that property, but we have the consumers who will now bear the cost in raised prices. I'm all for having efficiency studies and audits at every level of government, but the debate seems centered on cutting essential services, which is not efficiency, nor will it be picked up by the free market. Worse, they're even considering increasing the tax burden on agriculture, something no other state in the union is doing. And if that happens, well, I'm gonna finish, but Commissioner Strain has the greatest bottom line of all time of the week.
And the bottom line is leave agriculture alone. And I mean ag, forestry, and aquaculture, because those are the foundational dollars. And if we hamper those industries, if we harm those industries, the issues that we're facing now with the oil industry, right? And oil is a huge economic sector of the state. If that's damaged and then you damage agriculture, right? The deficit is going to be far more than $800 million.
Well, that is the bottom line, and if you don't like what the drop in revenue from the oil and gas industry is doing to the state's economy, wait until you see what happens when we start cutting into our food production. And guys, the real thing that's bothersome here is the history repeating itself here. We've seen what happens when we tax our farmers into the ground and cut into our production and these services, and it leads to the same sort of economic woes that we've suffered from in the past. It's just bad policy.
Talking about history repeating itself, we channeled Kanye twice in 2 weeks. Yeah, caught that. What do you think could really be, I guess, the panacea? What's going to help the Department of Ag and Forestry at least get to the point where it can maintain the services it has?
Well, I think legislatively they have to realize that these are essential services, that, it's so easy to cut the stuff on paper and not have any effect. But then down the line, when people start getting sick, when, wildfires start spreading out of control, then they're like, well, why isn't anybody doing anything about it? We should have done that years ago before we cut these services.
Well, thank you very much, Neil Melancon. Hopefully people will keep that in mind. Well, that does it for this edition of Twyla. Be sure to join us next week when we'll introduce you to the Louisiana Farm Bureau Ag in the Classroom Teacher of the Year.
Until then, you can watch all of our stories online on our website, twylatv.org, and be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram and Twitter.
Yep, we have the best tweets. For all of us here at Twyla, thanks for joining us. We hope to see you again right here next week.